What if a single message could destroy your sense of safety? Not a threat, not something obvious, just a simple message that feels a little too personal. That is exactly how Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden begins. At first, it feels small, almost harmless. But as the story unfolds, that one message becomes the start of something deeply unsettling. And by the end, nothing feels safe anymore. Debbie appears to live a quiet and controlled life. From the outside, everything looks stable and predictable. She has her routines, her home, and a sense of order that keeps her grounded. But underneath that calm surface, there is a quiet dissatisfaction. Something feels missing, even if she cannot fully explain it. And that emotional gap becomes the perfect opening for something dangerous to enter. The story truly begins when Debbie receives a message she was not expecting. It is not immediately threatening, but it feels personal in a way that makes her pause. The sender seems to know her, or at least knows things about her life. At first, she assumes it is a mistake or someone she has forgotten, but something about the tone lingers in her mind longer than it should. And that lingering feeling is where the tension begins. Instead of ignoring the message, Debbie keeps thinking about it. She rereads it, analyzing every word and trying to understand what it means. Curiosity slowly replaces caution. She starts to wonder who could have sent it and why. This is the moment where things could have stopped. But instead, she decides to respond. And that decision changes everything. Her reply is simple and cautious. She does not reveal too much, but she opens the door just enough. It feels harmless in the moment, like answering a wrong number text. But in stories like this, small actions carry huge consequences. By replying, Debbie unknowingly invites the sender deeper into her world. And once that door is open, it cannot easily be closed. The messages keep coming. At first, they are spaced out and subtle, but over time, they become more frequent and more intense. The sender begins referencing details about Debbie's life that feel too specific to be coincidence. What once felt like curiosity now starts to feel like surveillance. And Debbie begins to realize she may not be as alone as she thought. Debbie starts noticing things she never paid attention to before. A car that seems to pass by more than once. A stranger who looks at her just a little too long. Sounds in her house that suddenly feel out of place. Whether these things are real or imagined does not matter, because the feeling of being watched has already taken hold. As the story unfolds, we begin to see pieces of Debbie's past, relationships that ended badly, people she may have hurt or who may have hurt her. These moments are not just background information, they are clues. Each one raises a new possibility about who might be behind the messages, and each possibility makes the situation feel more personal and more dangerous. The tone of the messages begins to change. They are no longer just personal, they start to feel invasive. The sender's words carry an edge that was not there before. It becomes clear that this is not just someone reaching out. This is someone testing boundaries and pushing limits. And Debbie is no longer in control of the situation. Debbie tries to share what is happening with others. She explains the messages and how they make her feel. But without clear proof, her concerns are easy to dismiss. To others, it may sound like overthinking or anxiety. This lack of support makes everything worse because now she is not only afraid, she is also alone in that fear. Despite the fear, Debbie cannot completely disconnect. She keeps reading the messages and sometimes even responding. There is a strange pull between her and the sender. She wants answers, but every answer leads to more questions. This psychological tension keeps her trapped in the situation. and the sender seems to know exactly how to keep her engaged. The situation quickly escalates. The messages become more aggressive and more direct. The sender begins to reveal knowledge that feels impossible to ignore. Debbie realizes that whoever this person is, they are not going to stop. And the realization that this could continue indefinitely is terrifying. Debbie's sense of safety begins to collapse. Her home no longer feels like a safe space. She double-checks locks, closes curtains, and avoids being alone. Her routine becomes driven by fear rather than comfort. And as her world shrinks, the sender's influence grows stronger. It feels like there is nowhere left to hide. At this point, the idea that Debbie is being stalked becomes impossible to ignore. The messages are too precise and too timely. It feels like the sender is always one step ahead. This is no longer just a digital threat. It feels physical, immediate, and dangerously real. Debbie reaches a breaking point and decides to confront someone she suspects. She's driven by fear, frustration, and the need for answers. But the confrontation does not go the way she expects. Instead of clarity, it creates more confusion, and the truth feels even further out of reach. The constant pressure begins to wear Debbie down. She is no longer thinking clearly or acting like herself. Fear and exhaustion take over her decisions. The situation has become more than just external danger. It is now affecting her mentally and emotionally in profound ways. Everything starts building toward a reveal. Small details begin to connect. Patterns that once seemed random now start to make sense. But just when it feels like the truth is within reach, the story shifts again. And that shift is what makes this story so gripping. The twist is both shocking and deeply unsettling. It forces you to rethink everything you've seen so far. The sender's identity and motive suddenly come into focus. Every clue that seemed insignificant now feels important. And the truth is far more disturbing than anyone could have expected. After the reveal, the story slows down just enough to let everything sink in. Debbie is left to deal with the consequences of what has happened. The fear does not disappear instantly. Instead, it lingers in the background, because some experiences leave marks that do not easily fade. Dear Debbie is a powerful example of how ordinary situations can turn into something terrifying. It shows how easily trust can be manipulated. The story keeps you engaged by constantly shifting your expectations. And it reminds us that sometimes the most dangerous threats are the ones we never see coming. What makes this story so effective is how real it feels. In a world where we are constantly connected, the idea of someone using that connection against us is genuinely unsettling. The book taps into fears that many people already have. It also shows how quickly things can escalate when boundaries are crossed, and that is what makes it so memorable. What did you think about this story? Did you expect the twist, or did it catch you completely off guard? Share your thoughts in the comments below because I would love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video and want more book summaries like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life. I will see you in the next video.